So we can start working on the get flow of the application. But first of all, we'll go to the browser and check at which particular point we want to retrieve the data. So the get flow should happen as soon as I click on the add button. The first thing that would happen is I would receive a message that the customer details are saved successfully. After that, the pop-up should close. That is one more thing that we have to add. And once the pop-up is closed, this table that we see on the browser, it should be updated with the new record in the table that is there in DB. So we have to add the get flow as soon as we click on the add button and after we receive the successful response, and whenever this page is loading. So let's say I'm coming to customers, this page, right? Currently we are seeing some static data. So this should not happen. We should be able to see whatever data is there existing in our DB. So we have to add the get flow at two places. So let's see how we'll do that. But first of all, we have to complete the flow for add functionality. Once we have gotten the successful response, we want to close the dialog box for adding a new customer, and we want to do it in the complete function. So for that, we'll be giving the model.close functionality. But first of all, we'll have to define the model over here. Through inject, I want to inject ngb active model, and this we'll be using over here, this dot model dot close. And once this is closed, we'll be taken back to the customer page over here. So now let's try it. I've saved the record. I'll give some random values. Max Muller, phone number. Let me just give a random date. I'll add. It says customer details saved successfully. Click on OK, and you see that the model is closed, and we can confirm that the data is saved by executing this particular query. So you see a third record has been entered. After this, let's try to create the get flow from the table. We'll be creating a procedure get customer details, just following our naming convention. So adding sp underscore, and then simply we have to select the customer details in this store procedure. I click on execute. It says commands completed successfully. That means the store procedure is created. So if I just try to check in the store procedures over here, it is added now. So let's go to our web API solution, stop the execution, and just taking the help of already written function for saving the data. Now what we are doing is we're trying to get the data, give it the appropriate name. We don't want to pass any request over here, and then the store procedure name would be get customer details. After this, we don't want to pass any parameters to the store procedures. And once the connection is open, we want to execute reader through SQL data reader. And while the SQL data reader is reading, what we want to do is we want to take all of the data that is there in the result set and create an object for it. So I'll just add a new model. customer DTO, and I'm taking the help of customer request DTO over here to define the properties, because these are going to be similar to the ones that we defined in customer request DTO. Once this is done, over here I want to create a new list of customer DTO, customer details, or let me just name it customers. Yeah. And then what we'll do is create a DTO that would hold the single record. And once that is done, I want to assign each of the property the value from the table. So this is going to be convert dot string. We have a reader. So column name is customer ID. Okay, got it. Customer ID is integer. And similar to customer ID, we have first name, that would be string. Column name should be over here. Then we have multiple columns. One of them is last name. Then we have phone. We have email. And another is registration date. Got it. And this is going to be date time. This is taking registration over here. Email, phone, and then this. Okay, so I think we're all done with assigning a single row to this particular object. Now what we have to do is we need to add the customer DTO to customers. And once this is done, need to just convert this object to JSON and send it as our response from the API. So this is customers. This is the response that we are sending through the get customer data. I'll just save all of it and we'll run this solution. So this is running now. And over here you see that we have a get method added to our customer controller, and we can just try it out. I'll click on execute, and we are getting the response perfectly. All of the data that was there in the table, we are getting it as a JSON in the response body. And this is the same URL that we used for post, just that we are making a call to different method every time through the same URL. So now that this flow is completed to get the data from the DB to the web API, we just need to work on the flow from the front end to the web API, and we'll be able to see the exact data that is there in the DB on our UI application.